A healthy way to get high, 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 high. I knew I was never gonna reach that note. I wanted it, but it wasn't gonna come. Pure bliss. A sense of euphoria. A chemically induced high. What am I talking about? No, not illegal drugs, you mess. I'm an actual doctor. But I am talking about getting high without the harmful downsides of taking illegal drugs. Because the ways I've mentioned to you have been used to describe runner's high. Yes, a state of bliss experienced by many runners. And it seems to be produced by feel-good chemicals which are very similar to cannabis, except we actually produce them naturally within our own brains. And even better, you don't even have to run to trigger these chemicals because singing and dancing can trigger them too.
Dance with me, you're so tutti frutti, sweet as can be.
So, you've probably heard of endorphins, but this isn't even about them. So they used to hog all the credit for that feel-good factor you get after you exercise, until scientists discovered another feel-good chemical that we produce. This is endocannabinoids. So, the question is, what are endocannabinoids? These are natural chemicals that we all produce in our brains, which are actually discovered by accident when scientists were trying to find out why cannabis makes us high. Dr. Saoirse O'Sullivan is one of the leading experts in this field.
They first discovered that there is a specific receptor in the body, so a protein found on the outside of cells to which the chemicals from cannabis combined, and that's what brings about their actions. And once they knew that we have this in our brain, people started looking for what do we make in our body that binds to this, because we don't have proteins and receptors that bind to cannabis for no reason. We must make some chemical in our body that also binds to them that might have similar effects. And it was just a couple of years later that they discovered the first compound that they called an endocannabinoid.
And they're extremely similar in structure. I mean, look at this. The image on the right is a cannabinoid from cannabis, and on the left is an endocannabinoid that we produce in our bodies.
There are a lot of things that we know about endocannabinoids. They improve mood, they reduce anxiety, they help with stress. There are loads of reasons why increasing these chemicals in your brain will have long-term benefits.
So what we know is that endocannabinoids we produce in our body are good for us. But what scientists are just beginning to explore is how we can trigger them in our bodies. So is this what's happening in runner's high? Well, Dr. Saoirse O'Sullivan helped us put this to the test. She sent 3 runners on a relatively easy run and tested their blood before and afterwards to see if there had been an increase in endocannabinoids.
And what we found was when you came back for the run, you had 30% more endocannabinoids in your blood than you did. So exercise seems to stimulate across all of you a big increase in endocannabinoids in your blood.
That just proves what I thought, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
More of a runner's bliss rather than a runner's high, maybe.
Yeah.
And this tallies with other studies suggesting that we can produce these endocannabinoids just by running. However, not everyone reports a runner's high, which means a lot more research needs to be done to explore this link. But in terms of endocannabinoids, is runner's high anything like a cannabis high?
So I think probably the big difference is the amount of these chemicals. So you've got a 30% increase, it caused a mood-altering effect in you, made you feel better. But if you were to smoke a cannabis cigarette or a joint, you would have a much, much bigger increase, and that can have a lot of negative impacts on some people as well.
And that's the thing, taking too many cannabinoids can overwhelm our system. But when we can produce endocannabinoids naturally from something, say, like running, that means we can keep them well within the safe limits. Now, I know you're thinking, yeah, Dr. Emeka, I don't like running. No amount of running is gonna make me feel good. Listen, I hear you, I get it. But here's the thing. Now we're gonna find out, can we produce runner's high without actually running? And it's back to pioneering physiologist Dr. Saoirse O'Sullivan to take this a little bit further. She wondered, well, what else gives people this natural euphoria? And can this be linked to endocannabinoids too? So she tested 2 things, singing and dancing. And for this, she used the help of the Derbyshire Rock Choir to test out this theory. Yes, Derbyshire Rock Choir, nice tunes. So the volunteers tried out 4 different activities, singing, dancing, cycling, and then a purposely boring activity designed to give no high whatsoever. Reading dishwasher manuals. So they did each activity for 30 minutes and they had their blood levels tested before and after to measure their endocannabinoids. They also had a questionnaire to measure their mood. So did any of these activities actually give them a natural measurable high? Dishwasher manuals. Yep, there was no endocannabinoids rise there and it actually made their mood even worse. Shocker. Cycling?
So the cycling did cause an increase in endocannabinoids of about 20%. But overall, there wasn't a correlation between how much your mood changed and your endocannabinoid levels.
Now, onto the good stuff, dancing and singing. So with dancing, we saw an endocannabinoid rise of 21% with a reported increase in mood. However, with singing, we saw a staggering 42% rise in endocannabinoids and a reported increase in mood, of course. Mama, I wanna sing. All right, so there are a few ways we can look at this. At first glance, a choir group that enjoys singing doesn't sound particularly all that shocking. Neither do runners who enjoy running. However, when you think about it, the exciting research that shows we could produce these endocannabinoids in our bodies ourselves and it doesn't have to actually be from running is staggering. It means that a bunch of research can now go on to look at many different activities that can produce this natural high. And the best thing for me at least is that while singing has shown that you can boost your endocannabinoids, it didn't actually mention that you have to be good at singing to actually get this natural high. So I can sing all I want to do. That last note was abysmal. That last note was wild. What key were you trying to sing? But waiting on the other side. Yeah. So there you go. A cheaper, easier, healthier, more legal way to get high.